Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of Lunchtime Learning. I'm delighted to be joined today by Sally Holdway. Sally is the Sale and Purchase Lead at Residential Logbook Association and Director of the Homeowners Passport. Hello, Sally. How are you?
Very well indeed.
Good.
Many thanks
Thank
for
you
the
for
invite,
joining me.
Stephen.
Hopefully, I got that all right.
It is,
Uh,
yes, bit of a mouthful.
Good. We had a conversation about a week ago now about an article you wrote about digital logbooks, and I thought it'd be great to get you on to discuss a bit more about that, why I feel it's so important. We actually put a poll on LinkedIn together, asking a question, should house transactions be able to complete at the weekend? So we can exclusively reveal that over 50% of people said yes, they think transactions should be completed over the weekend. I'm sure we will discuss that in a little bit. But tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are for people that don't know who you are, Sally, please.
Yeah, God, the potted history, right. So my background is as a conveyancing solicitor. I started practicing in high street law firms. In the last century, it was pointed out to me recently, which is harsh but fair. Yeah, I've been a conveyancer for a good many years, and also practiced in some of the larger conveyancing firms as well. For the last 5 years or so, I've been running the Homeowner's Passport, which is a digital app which supports estate agents with material information and sale ready packs, which are obviously part of the government's reforms that have been recently announced. No doubt we'll talk about those later. And also logbooks. As part of that journey, I'm also, as you mentioned, the sale and purchase lead at the Residential Logbook Association, which is the regulatory body which regulates logbooks in England and Wales. And it's my job to make sure that the contents of logbooks are what we describe as legal grade, conveyancing grade. So everything that's within a logbook can be used by an estate agent and also a solicitor as part of a conveyancing transaction. So that's the potted history as to how I get here today.
Okay, thank you. So for people, estate agents that are watching this, what is a digital logbook, please?
Yeah, so I think logbooks have been a concept that have been around probably for a decade or so now, and certainly there is already quite a healthy market in the UK, as you mentioned, for digital property logbooks. Effectively, wearing my old solicitor hat, I think it a little bit like the old deed storeroom. So at the end of a transaction, I would pop all the deeds in our safe room for a client. Back in the day, that literally was the last century. We effectively have got a digitized version of that now. So. It was described to me by an estate agent we saw recently as a filing cabinet in your pocket. And so effectively, it's an app where homeowners can store all of the important information about their property. What's crucial about that, though, this isn't just a receptacle for a lot of PDFs. It's digitized as well. So the all of the information is held in machine readable formats, which means we can start to do really interesting and new helpful tools and services for homeowners. One of which is around alerts and calendar management. So, for instance, in a RLBA logbook, you can have an alert from the land registry, for instance, an always-on fraud alert. So, if anyone tries to register anything at the land registry as a homeowner, you'll be given an alert. That's just one example of where using the data means we can start to move the dial on providing new and interesting services for homeowners. But it's also a way where consumers can start a transaction journey, whether that's a sale or whether it's a remortgage, because a lot of the information that they will have to gather or their representatives will have to gather for them as part of that process sits there already through the live data feeds which go into a logbook. So having a logbook in place can also really fast track transactions as well. So that's one of the reasons I think why estate agents are getting increasingly interested in the concept of logbooks. But of course, also it's been referenced in the recent roadmap which government have released around the home buying and selling reforms. Certainly, government see property logbooks as one of the key pillars which will facilitate delivery of the new digital transactions which we're all building towards.
Okay, so most probably a few questions from that. Um, is it going to apply? So, for example, will a lender, a solicitor, accept stuff that's gone in there. Because at the moment, you've most probably got to do an AML check for this, an AML check for that, an AML check for this, or whatever. So will everything be in one place, that everybody will be able to accept?
So as you'd expect already from me, there's a short and a long answer to that. And the short answer is yes, they will be. The longer answer is we're on a bit of a journey with regards to that. So again, that's one of the reasons that the RLBA have been putting in place, I say, this conveyancing grade standard and lender grade standards, which basically means that the data sources which will feed into a logbook are the same which a conveyancer and a lender would use in the general scheme of things today when they're dealing with a transaction. And membership within the RLBA for logbook companies means that we also have to reach that standard as well as a company, which means that absolutely the data which sits in there can be used by lenders and conveyancers. What I will also say, as part of the government's roadmap, they are busy writing the code of practice, which is due to be released by the end of this year, which we think is probably going to codify this a lot more. Say up until the consultation, I think logbooks were a concept which some people are using in anger, but it's something which is new to others as well. So there is going to be, I think, a push with around the communication around what logbooks are and why you can rely on the standards which sit in there. But it means that we get to all sorts of interesting potential concepts once the code of practice is out. If all the data which a lender requires to make a lending decision sits in a logbook, in theory, it means that estate agents can start to be listing properties as pre-approved by certain lenders because we know what their criteria are. So that starts to get very interesting rather than waiting until the post-offer period when traditionally conveyancers would start to look at the mortgage offers from lenders and say, okay, is this property good and marketable? Is it suitable from a due diligence point of view from the lenders? We can do that decisioning up front. So it's going to start to change the chronology, I think, of lot of the things that we do in the transaction and hopefully front load it a lot more.
And what sort of things will be put into a logbook or can be put into a logbook?
Yeah, well, all sorts. I mean, effectively, as a homeowner, it's your living, breathing app. So it's entirely up to you what you want to use it for. What the RLBA has developed is a series of what we different types of packs. So, for instance, there's a retrofit pack. We can have net if you're interested in net zero and the energy efficiency of your property. That's one area where you can use a logbook to be improving the energy efficiency of your property. The area that I focus on is obviously transactions, so the documentation that is required to facilitate a transaction can sit in there. And that really gets into the nuts and bolts, isn't it? Of the things which can cause the irritations and the delays in transactions, things like a missing fencer certificate, which is very innocuous in itself, but can cause weeks of delay if it's not in place in the conveyancing transaction. Similarly, for things like indemnity insurance policies, which might have been put in place when you last bought the property, but it's been lost, during various moves. Well, it will all sit in those logbooks. But as a homeowner, you can use it for whatever you want. So, I mean, if there's particular things that you want to upload, your gas boiler maintenance documentation, that can sit in there as well. And as I said, there's an ever increasing stream of live document feeds into official logbooks, which means actually you don't have to do the legwork of uploading them yourself. You can just effectively switch on those data feeds so that starts to pull into the logbook for you.
So you talked about, say, a fencer certificate. Is that something that could be pulled in, or is that something that, I would have to scan in myself?
Defence certificates on the to-do list to get those automatically in. But they say there's lots of stuff that's there already. So, for instance, we can pull through EPC information into a logbook, anything from a previous transaction, as we mentioned. So things like obviously the title deeds and the plan from land registry, they can automatically be pulled in, as can even the forms that were filled in last time. So the good old fiction fittings form. They can be pulled through as well. But the government, aside from the reforms on the roadmap, is doing an awful lot of work with regards to smart data, effectively digitizing all of the information that sits around properties and transactions and making those available, much more freely available over the course of the coming years. One great little example of that, which your viewers might have heard about, is called the LLC1 project. That's the local land charges. So Land Registry are in the process of going around I think it's 320 local authorities and digitising all of their data, which traditionally lawyers would have got hold of as part of a local search process. And I think we all know how long local searches can take. That's the big postcode lottery at the moment, I think, isn't it? Depending on what area you're in as to how long a local search takes to be returned. And I say they've got round about a third of all of those local authorities now, but government are now fast tracking getting all of the others digitised as well. So within the next couple of years, we're going to have full coverage across the UK. And that means you can get that data instantly. So literally it's there at the click of a button. And the great news about that is as well, rather than having these local searches which take ages to arrive, we then also give them this shelf life of 6 months. So they become a bit of a static document, whereas where we've got the data, we can continually refresh that. And if anything happens to come up on on LLC1 search, then everyone can be alerted about that the moment it happens. So say we really think we're going to start to see the dial shift over the course of the next 2 or 3 years with regards to having this instant access to this always on data feed.
I just think it's crazy. I mean, I was an agent or been doing agency for about 40 years on and off. And I think it's got slower how long it takes, which is ridiculous considering all the technology. And it's very, very frustrating that none of this can be done sooner, and everybody's been talking about it for a long time. So hopefully now this will speed up and make a massive difference. Have you got people that or estate agents that are actually using this now? And what are their results on days on market and getting their sales through quicker?
Yeah, so traditionally, say logbooks have been around in the UK for about 10 years, probably 5 years or so in anger. We have something called the National Logbook Register, which the RLBA manages, which is a list of all the logbooks which are kind of out there in the wild. We think there's around about 500,000 logbooks out there at the moment. Most of those have been set up by lawyers to date for the reasons I explained earlier. At the end of a transaction, if you're acting for a purchaser, it's a way to wrap the transaction up nicely and provide a logbook to your client. But certainly since the roadmap has been published, it's an area which agents are getting more interested in. And there's three key points where an estate agent will set up a logbook for a client. Um, Absolutely the same as the lawyers are doing. At the end of a transaction, they can set a logbook up for the purchaser. I mean, you don't traditionally have a direct relationship with the purchaser, but that's a nice value add. And the majority of logbook companies will do sponsored or dual branded logbooks. So it's a way to keep your agency's brand front and center for that purchaser for when they next decide to transact.
Mhm.
Similarly, you can do the same thing if your vendor has an onward purchase. So even if you've not acted, you can always set a logbook up for the property that they've just bought, and that obviously comes with the same benefits. But we're also starting to see now, again, I'm playing roadmap bingo, aren't I? I think every time I mention the government's roadmap, you can score a point off the card. But also logbooks are a way to deliver the sale packs. And obviously sale packs are another one of the big initiatives that it's looking like government is going to be rolling out sooner rather than later. I always think of a sale pack, really, it's very similar in content to a contract pack, which a lawyer will put together. We're just talking about it doing it earlier in the process. And many logbook companies can provide a digital sale pack within a logbook umbrella. So we are also starting to see agents now who will set a logbook up at the very beginning, at the outset of a transaction, to be able to deliver the material information, digital sales packs as a vehicle for that. And then at the point the property completes, they can then transfer the ownership of that logbook onto the new owner. Or if for any reason the sale doesn't go ahead, once again, they're still retaining that relationship with the vendor. And the logbook obviously will persist beyond that transaction. So that will then be a touch point if the vendor decides to subsequently further down the line put the property back on the market again. So kind of three key entry points. With regards to the impact they're making, sales packs and having that information through logbooks, there's been various pilots over the course of the last few years or so, which I think demonstrate having the information available up front can save about a quarter of a transaction time and also reduce your fallout rates by similar levels. So it's certainly worthwhile doing. We would say that, wouldn't we? I guess. But certainly, as far as the sale pack side of things is concerned, I think industry is pretty happy and confident now that the amount, and government as well, the amount of pilots that we've seen using this concept of changing that chronology and getting the information together much earlier in the process does have a tangible impact on improving transaction outcomes.
Okay, so something I want to come back to because I think it's very interesting, and I think there's a massive opportunity for estate agents because I think that estate agents don't have a great stay in touch policy, full stop. But actually, what you said there about eventually these buyers wanting to come to sell, or maybe they're not buying, they're buying through another agent, you can stand out and be different by setting up this digital property logbook, which is branded, which they're going to see every time they add to it. Um, and that's going to help them. And hopefully, when they do come to sell, because the likelihood is they will, the likelihood is that they're going to come back to you. So it's great. Can estate agents be charging for them, or is that something they should be doing or not?
It's entirely up to them. So some agents will set it up as a value add for their clients. Some absolutely will charge for it as well, because again, it does come with value for the homeowner. So it's generally speaking entirely up to that estate agent. And again, Stephen, it's very, very regional estate agency, isn't it? So I think in many ways it can depend on the area that you're practicing in. But certainly that's entirely up to the estate agent whether they want to monetize that. But certainly it is being monetized by many agents.
Okay, lovely. Couple of other questions for you, if that's okay.
Of course.
Um, if you were an estate agent, what would you be doing to educate the general public, the consumers, about digital logbooks and getting the message out there?
Well, I mean, certainly at the moment, there's plenty of resources available. All logbook companies will support agents with regards to marketing collateral. But there's also quite a lot on the Residential Logbook Association's website, say the trade body, which you can point your clients to take a look at what that means. But we can expect a lot more over the coming months. Certainly, as part of the government reforms, they are looking at education projects and programs to basically be making logbooks, sale packs, and material information. Just provide a lot more information out there to consumers so they don't have to go around and ask their agents for it or try to find the information. So I think in many ways it's a question of watch this space. Certainly we can expect by the end of this year, I think quite a lot of comms to be coming out from the various government working groups to be pointing consumers in the direction of, okay, what is a logbook? What is a sale pack? What is material information?
Brilliant. And something totally different and very random. I noticed that you were a mentor for Reach. Obviously, we've got agents together here that have matched over just under 1,200 people, and they've got 420 mentors, and they've given up 44,000 plus hours of their time. Why did you become a mentor? Why do you think this is important? And a little plug for agents together. Why do you think people should either become a mentor or be a mentee?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it's about for me, if there's any element that you can help so far as giving it back as a whole pay it forwards, then that's something that I'm always really keen to engage with. But selfishly, I get so much more from being a mentor than say. I think in many ways it's kind of interchangeable, that relationship, isn't it? I think you get so much more. There's a couple of areas which I'm always really happy to put time towards, and say the Reach is a prime example of that. Also, there's an organisation called Geovation. I don't know if you've come across that. That's Land Registry and Ordnance Survey startup community. And I'm always very happy to contribute to that as well, because, say, 5 or 6 years ago with the Homeowners Passport, we were on that startup journey. And collaboration is the key word here, isn't it? I think if we can all be working together with our shared experience, then hopefully we can be building tools which are really going to start to improve things so far as those transaction outcomes and make moving house better, really, isn't it? So really, most of the mentoring I'm doing is really around kind of from the business side of things to be supporting new organisations, and obviously that's what Reach predominantly will focus on. It's looking at those companies out there which are building new and innovative products, which will be helpful to consumers, but obviously go through the agent journey as well. So obviously, how can we build products which are going to make everyone's life a bit easier? So yeah, I mean that's something which I'm always happy to contribute time for. The more we work together, I think hopefully the more we're going to deliver, aren't we?
Lovely. And actually, I think one of my biggest frustrations when it comes to looking at LinkedIn and looking at how disjointed the whole industry is, with estate agents having a go at conveyancers, conveyancers having a go at estate agents. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Who's the most important people in here? The consumers. They must be thinking, what am I getting myself into if the industry can't agree to how to do it and they're all slagging each other off? It's absolutely crazy.
It really is, isn't it? And I say whether that's the frustration in the process as it sits at the moment. But yeah, we're traditionally not brilliant, are we, at collaborating and working together? So absolutely, the more we can be doing with that. And I think, as you mentioned, Stephen, I absolutely agree with you. Certainly, when I started in practice, 6 weeks was the standard time scale to get deals done. And yet here we are. What's the average time scale is now 19 weeks. And that can be easy to put at the door of the conveyancers, right? But I say I've sat on that side of the desk. And in many ways, it's down to the what lawyers would call mission creep. So the amount of work that lawyers have to do now is probably 2 or 3 times more the amount of work that had to be done back in the day when I was a coalface conveyancer. AML checks is a prime example, isn't it? And obviously that's overspilt into the estate agency world as well. So we have to take a step back and say, okay, well, let's have a think about how we're doing this. We still need to work within the regulatory environment that governs how we do transactions, but can we start to collaborate a bit more? And to say that's one of the things that we've looked at very closely with logbooks. Logbooks effectively is pulling a lot of the documentation together that I used to do as a lawyer. Part of my job would be sitting there dictating, can we apply for search? Can we get the title deeds? So even if we can just be using that to be taking, some of the grunt work away from the lawyer so they can actually get on and do the lawyering bit of the job. That's something which hopefully means that we can all start to be, to your point, delivering better outcomes so far as the home movers are concerned.
Brilliant, thank you. So, Sally, if people want to get hold of you, how do they do that?
Oh, well, there's multiple channels. So yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. So that's probably the first starting point. But also, if you want to get in touch with me by email, I'm always very happy to hear from anyone with regards to any of the themes that we've been talking about today. My email is sally@homeownerspassport.com, so pretty straightforward to remember. But yeah, always happy to have any conversations with anyone in industry. To your point, Stephen, I say the more we can be talking, hopefully, the more we can be coming up with solutions to make life a bit easier for everyone.
Fantastic. Well, look, thanks for being a great guest. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And until the next time, have a good day, everybody. Bye bye.